check. Make sure. Ooh, we're on. Okay. All right. I'd like to call to order the Property Committee meeting for December 9th, 2024 for the County Board, and we'll have a meeting to order, and we did that. Certification, open meeting laws, have they been met? Or right, okay. There's a 11-item agenda. Need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Motion by Richard, second by Doc. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion carried. Everybody got the minutes from the previous meeting. Any corrections, additions? If not, I'll need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Doc,
I second.
second by Renee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. All right. Members of the public will have a 15-minute block of time to comment on today's agenda items. Members may be present in person or call in to make such comments. To comment by telephone, please call 715-538-1894. Public comment may be extended or curtailed at the discretion of the committee board chair and after advisement by the committee board. Now we're on to, we'll open it up now to public. And as we wait for any calls, if we get any, we'll go on to number 6. Samuel's Group. We got Kurt here today. He's got you guys all some big plans so that we don't need to put our super heavy duty glasses on.
All right, good morning, everyone. As Audie had mentioned, I brought some bigger plans because there was some requests last month so that you could see it a little better. I have given you first floor and second floor plans. Really, from last month's meeting, the only real changes that were requested were on the second floor, and it was pertaining to this upper right-hand corner. So if you want to turn to sheet A104, which would be the second sheet.
Here, this is the
Yeah. I'll just, I'll just look over your shoulder.
So the requests that were made for that area was really driven a lot into the county clerk area and then into the treasurer. And the goal of this corner of this building was to bring the individuals into those 3 departments with separate department entrances. So if you'll see in that corner there, when they come through that elevator lobby, as you're coming down the corridor from the addition, you're gonna come through this elevator lobby by the health waiting. Then you'll come into the space, and the first department will be Register of Deeds, where they'll be able to enter. Now you will see the doors have been removed out of that corridor wall. And what Venture evaluated is they can extend that corridor into that space if we rate the walls behind that, so that you essentially would get rid of those doors, so that you're not going through a door to go into the department. So you would see an opening in there. You would get into the Register of Deeds office. That would be a glass opening there for you to be able to see into the Register of Deeds. You go down a little further, and then you would see the treasurers. The request last time was that they wanted to have a vestibule for the county clerk, because Paul had talked about the needs for marriage license and privacy that's associated with that. So Venture has shown that this desk would be placed in there, or basically a counter that's inside of the county clerk space. And then there was also a request to add the county board chair's office just off of the county clerk's office. So that has been put adjacent to the space. Now, we did have to reduce that conference room that was there. There was a conference room before that was talked about being shared amongst departments, and it sounded like the health department had a space. It would be that 2055 consult room. So the room is still there. It's just smaller than it was before in order to accommodate getting the board chair's office into that space. The other request that was asked was in the treasurer's office to be able to have a sight line from the treasurer's. So Audie and I actually went down there and met before we had left. The request was to make sure that there is enough space laid out here for the desks during a couple of busy times of the month for 3 people to have desks in there. And this treasurer's office here could almost double in regards to some storage. So there's a request about some storage that may need to be in that backside. So the sight lines have been accommodated and more glass has been put into that wall to be able to give you the sight lines. And then at the elevator, if you go back where the connection is between the 2 buildings, there's 2 sets of double doors in there. We're still up in the air about this second set of doors. We're waiting for code review yet to see if this second set of doors can come out. If that is code compliant in regards to the reviewer, we will take that 1 set of doors there. There will need to be at least 1 there for the separation of the buildings. The second is questionable in regards to the rating of that elevator lobby, that we may be able to consider that into that health waiting. But because that health waiting is open, those doors may have to stay. So we're still waiting on review of that. So essentially, this floor plan here incorporates all of the changes that have been requested from you guys last month. I'd like to get a final blessing from you so that we can get the engineers to start doing their work on this, and then obviously we would have the documents finalized right after the first of the year. I think in about that second week of January. We do have to resubmit to the state, so when we bid this the first time, since we're making changes, we got to resubmit to the state, so there will be state review period associated with that. So, questions, comments on the changes?
I got a question. For the board chair, county board chair.
Yep.
Room there, you have to walk through the county clerk's office then in order to get into it?
Correct.
Why wouldn't that be switched around with the other building?
That's how we requested it the other way around.
It-
Where you got consult would be the county board's chair, and we asked for a records room. And where the board chair is, that would be a records room. 'Cause
So
we
it-
showed what was in our back room right now.
So you can change the names there. By doing that, you're giving up a conference room that could be shared. This was to accommodate the conference room component here. So you as a committee can decide how you want that to be laid out.
Who's gonna use that conference room?
It's been requested by Health Department to be able to use the space.
I talked to Health, and they said it was a Jen idea. Jen Comerall, she's not here anymore. There wasn't, they said they didn't.
Can people turn on their microphones, please, when they're talking? I can't hear.
I'm too far away from one.
Yeah, we have-
Right, I did talk to the health department, and they don't know why Jen wanted a room there, because it's way away from her area. And we asked for a records room, and we showed that what our back room is right now with all the election stuff. So where it says board chair, we were basically wanting as a records room, and the consult room would be the county board's chair, county board chairs. He'd have access to the county clerk's office, but he'd also have access to the hall. So if somebody wanted to come and see him and didn't want to go through the county clerk's office, he'd have a door into his office. And I think that's what we were talking to John about too, so. So those 2 things should just be switched.
That's just a name change, so if that's what you all want, I'm fine with however you want to approach that.
From what I'm thinking, conference room, of course, they could be anywhere, is when the audit used to use that, and that was handy getting to you. Is that gonna be a major problem at audit time? No comment? Or-
I don't think it matters. We've adjusted and made space for our meeting space that's closer to the administration area, that's larger, to accommodate that. So it's fine. Just change the name on the document. It shouldn't matter.
Any other changes or requests?
And I apologize, I may not have been listening as closely as I should have, because I was looking at my map, but I missed the full gist of the conversation about the health department not needing a meeting room.
This is so far away, and I talked to them, and they said it was Jen wanted a conference room, but if you look where they're meeting, it's not even near this place.
Oh, I thought that was out of the equation anyway, sorry. I am behind.
Okay.
Back in, I think, one of the original proposals, public health would have been in this area.
Yeah.
One of your first plans.
But it is, so that health waiting area, oh, wait a minute, the waiting area is the reception. Was there a meeting room between the health waiting room and the Register of Deeds? Am I missing something? That waiting room, is that gonna be their consult room too for health department?
No, that waiting room is basically open public waiting, so when they
Oh.
come in, it's extension of that corridor.
Well, in the,
Can I?
Yes, please,
Sorry.
please, Becky, do.
Well, originally, yes, Jen had wanted meeting room space within the health department. And, in order to make sure that she had enough room there for staff and such, I had said, could we create a shared meeting room space instead outside of that space? And right now they do use that waiting room as their meeting space as well, but now it's going to be open to a hallway that people walk through. And so anyway, I'd suggested, doing a shared space. In the meantime, we've been working through this, and I think it's fine that they just use the county boardroom when they need, and they still do use that space out in the front right there. I think they can still meet and sit out there in that waiting space, but, and then, like I had mentioned, next to the administration room, we have created a shared, meeting room that could be used by them as well. They just gotta go, they just gotta go to the county boardroom or the administration meeting room. And so they just have to go a little further. So, but there should be plenty of space for that.
Well, and I'm wondering if there isn't the possibility, when I was working, they would sometimes use an inner office for a meeting room. I'm not saying that, I mean, it's another option, because they did that in the past. Thank you, Becky.
I was just gonna
Thanks.
comment one more too. Over in public health now, they have two, it says health offices, which are external from the public health. You have to enter them from the public corridor. I don't know if those offices could be, one of those could be a conference room for their consulting.
well, I don't think
Because
that,
when you figure out how many people they're gonna have over there and you count how many offices are in here, there's a lot more offices than they have people.
well, and I think they're, due to turnover, they may have a vacant office most of the time. I'm not
You
picking
kinda-
on,
yeah, I know.
I'm not picking on them, I just simply say that's the reality. And the other thing is, it looks like the health waiting room is basically the same room that's there now, isn't it? Why not just leave a door there?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that question, why the door was taken out.
Because, there are people waiting there, that gives them a little more privacy, I think, if that door is left there.
I think it was more along the question of congestion and trying to give that more of an open feel. If you want to keep the wall there and you want to keep that enclosed, we can give that direction to Venture.
It's a lot smaller space now.
They wouldn't have to have the table in there if they're not gonna use it as a conference room.
Do you have open waiting in the Justice Center as well? Is that kind of an accepted concept, to have open waiting?
I mean, this space in here could be, it's public waiting, right? It's more for courts.
it's
but
open.
It's open, yep.
Well, now, that's been reduced by just enough to make that hallway wider, isn't it? Tim? That hall, you said that room is a little smaller.
Well, where that wall is, that glass wall with the door is right now encompasses both child support and health space. Where you're seeing it, the space, the meeting space now, that shrinks
Right.
to just be the health department entrance size. So if you put that wall in there, that waiting area will get more congested looking than what it is currently.
How wide is that space there up to
I
that?
think if you're worried about the meeting space, there is meeting space elsewhere that can address their meetings that are there.
I'm not worried about meeting spaces.
So I think keeping that open, to go back to your question about keeping the wall, I think the openness of this will stop the congestion that you may feel to be able to get through that corridor. There's been a request to open that up. That's why Venture was more or less opening that up.
How wide is that hallway right there?
I think it's 6 feet, something like that.
Okay, well, I don't think if it's 6 foot, it's not, to me, it's not an issue in terms of width. I think in terms of vision, it'll feel bigger.
And if the health, I mean, I think the health, they can walk down the corridor. Administration's got rooms open. If they're, I mean, do they meet every day? I don't think. They meet, what? Renee, what does health meet? Once a week?
Once a month. Well, they have various subcommittees, and I don't think the meeting,
I don't think
agree
it-
with you, I don't think the meeting room is a concern.
So, yeah, and there's so many, administration has got tons of room down there. They could use one of those rooms pretty for theirs, because I don't think they're gonna be all occupied either, so.
I
think-
guess my concern is more privacy for those that are waiting.
For the customers.
Yes, that's much
Leave
more,
that door open all the time. There's no privacy in that
okay,
space now.
okay.
So I'd like to nail this down today, because we've chased this tail for quite a while. So if I can get your blessing, I'd like to finalize this, and Venture will wrap this up.
I will just say that the openness is the same thing that the Human Services Department is doing on the main floor, and that is something that each of these departments has agreed to and been, we're interested in and liked it, and because this has gone through all of the departments for review as well.
ADRC, did they move over to the old sheriff's office?
Pardon?
ADRC, what do they move to?
They're in human services.
Huh?
They're in human services.
Human services.
There were a different human services department over at Commissioners. They didn't want people having to walk all the time.
So who's in the old,
Family and children.
doesn't have to be revamped, that's okay.
That's just
It's
temporary.
a temporary.
Because where land management and extension are now,
Yep.
that's where ADRC is going to be. So if you look on your first page, that.
Where is the waiting area in the Human Service Department?
That's the very, when you first enter the building.
Oh, the corridor?
Yep.
It says corridor, okay.
Corridor. By the elevator?
No,
No.
no, as you go into the old section there.
Oh, where it says ADRC.
No, it says corridor. Is that right, Tim?
Because that's an ADRC waiting.
You're talking about this area? So this is for the whole part?
That's the whole part.
Yeah, walking down the hall.
That explains it, thank you, Tim.
Yeah, so,
So where was the waiting?
It's the ADRC
Oh, it's
waiting.
ADRC and Human Services.
Yeah, yeah.
And veterans.
yeah, they're all crossing
Right.
each other.
Oh, yeah.
They're all in that first, part of the first floor plan, when you walk in. Well, does anybody have any questions on anything here? I mean, yeah, we've been chasing this thing for quite a while.
I have a question.
Sure
Rebecca?
that. What do you have, Dick?
Yes.
Rebecca, you still there?
Yes, yes.
Okay, obviously I shouldn't say obviously, I'm betting you've had an opportunity to review this beforehand, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. There were no issues that came to your attention or the other administrative staff?
No, that's correct.
We need bigger tables.
Or smaller plans.
No, the plans I like.
Oh, you like the big.
Hey, don't.
Oh, that's
There's,
right. We
there's a
do.
lot of extra. Rebecca, why is there 11 offices for administration? Are they all, do you need that many? That's not, that's without the couple conference chambers you have there. Or, it seems like a lot for
Yeah, there's some
administrator.
extra in there as well. There's, that becomes administration is HR, administration and a business office as well. So those, and so you got to remember, you got economic development and tourism, you've got your parks guy up there, you got emergency management person that's coming, and then a business office. So that's all, and HR.
So people from other departments previously will be coming up and using that area, correct, Becky? Like emergency management, economic development, they were previously in other departments. So
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, economic development and parks, tourism, no, they're already up in that area.
oh, okay.
And so, yeah, the emergency management will be, and then again, as we build a business office, that's like right now, we do have one person up there, that's that Amy Bergerson from in finance.
You got a question, John?
No. Nope.
Anybody else? Doc, Rich, Renee, Dick, you got anything?
No, I don't think so. You know, did, what was the size of the county clerk reception window
Now,
in the plan?
the original?
Yeah. Well, the original, what's on here now. Jeremy mentioned something about, Becca, do you know anything about that? Jeremy mentioned
I
something.
don't.
Okay. And you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. He said I thought he had already talked to somebody about it. So never mind.
Well, you see, we're gonna be gaining counter space. There wasn't any counter space in the one that was before this.
Correct.
It was just that one little window that looked out into the hall here,
Right.
and we can't do marriage licenses through a window.
Oh, maybe that's what he was
So,
talking about. So where
what
is
they've got
that?
Now is, I guess, no doors, but into what would be considered our area of counters. They're gonna be pull-down, lockdown garage doors. or
Do
whatever.
you want doors?
Well, it's gonna have to be secure somehow, or if you don't put those things in, then I have to have doors there.
So does it happen right there in that vestibule? Because the conversation was that you're getting additional square footage within that department, which is you wanted it to be a file storage room. You've got spaces there so that the opening from that corridor takes you right into your vestibule. If you want a door there for privacy, then somebody's gonna have to open a door to get into there.
What's going to be the security of the counter space?
It's a glass, that's all glass there from that entrance that's in there.
It'd
Just
just be
a little
a
slide
be a
through.
small
Correct.
pass-through.
I think I'd rather, and I'll talk to Mary on this too, but I think it would be better if we had doors to the two hallways, the vestibules and the corners, and then have our open counter.
The clerk of courts, I'm sorry, what?
How's the door gonna work?
There's two openings right now.
Do you want door on both openings?
I think the one could just be closed off and just have the one so that they come down the vestibule to the county clerks and the register of deeds and the treasurer.
I was under the impression that Mary already looked at this.
Yeah, and we've talked since that.
Oh,
No, that's not much of a change though, is it? Or no?
The only reason I heard about that being that
Services.
opening into the vestibule that looks towards the treasurer and the register of deeds was that they said if somebody came to those two offices and there was nobody there, we could see out that window to help them. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
I guess I'm wondering, what would be gained by changing this, though?
We've got our counter space.
Right, but changing this
Well,
drawing.
if those are just gonna be glass and you only have a little slide through, is that what you're talking? then when there's one couple that comes in to do a marriage license, we have to go through the glass. That's
What's wrong with that?
That's how the clerk of courts construction has been
the clerk of courts.
in the past up until now, because they're all glass windows. And I think they are now too, probably, in the new area.
Over there
It's
they
all
are.
glass window. There's no entrance.
Correct.
I don't think you want entrance in there, Paul, do you?
How are they gonna get to the counter?
Well, the counter's right there.
There's a minor counter
But they-
on both
okay, so
sides, is there
then
not?
Both of those openings are just openings, they're not doors.
Correct.
Do you want
Is
it
there a small
inside the
counter?
clerk's office?
On the hall side?
If we have more than one marriage license, I'm married to them. Don't want two at the same time at the counter, because they're giving confidential
Yeah.
information. We usually take one to another room, and that's where we'd have our.
Well, can't you just ask them to step out?
Or
It does happen.
You better,
It
you step
does.
out, we've had.
And I don't like giving personal information either, social security
Well,
numbers.
I think that makes sense, but you have room in that hallway to almost have a couple of chairs, so they could step out, I would think. Rather than you dealing
But
with.
the clerk's office, everybody can do marriage licenses, applications, so.
Yeah, but how long does it take?
Half an hour?
Half an hour?
They could make an appointment.
Well, can't you take one into one of the conference rooms?
Give 'em a
and
chance to
ask 'em?
rethink it, right, Dick?
I thought that was,
Wouldn't that the plan, Paul, to go
Well-
into the conference room, right? I mean, how often does that happen that you get two people in there for marriage license? Is that a?
Oh, we've at times had three at a
What,
time.
is that like once a year or 3 times a year, or does it
I
happen
would
every
just
month?
say
In the
probably a
spring.
few times a year, probably. Yeah, in
I
the
mean-
spring.
I think a few times you could use one of the conference rooms, couldn't you?
So, okay, can you tell me where the pass-through or on this, where the counter is right now?
So, right now, they've got an opening there that you could have the pass-through. If you want this to be an open glass, then
What is over in the corner, where's that, sideways U, what is that
there's a
right
plumbing chase there, so there's plumbing pipe that's already there that has to remain.
there? Okay.
Well, if you got more than one Paul that comes there,
Then we,
That
well,
consult room.
we've taken the county board chair's office and done them
Yeah.
too.
but the consult room, that, to me, is what that was designed for, that's what was asked for a long time
You've got
ago.
them.
And this,
Yeah, I
this,
agree with
this
you.
would
I
work
agree, Rich.
yeah, we could take them into the county board chair's office.
Yeah. And they've got a couple rooms around there,
There, you just find someplace to go.
yeah. I mean, we gotta kind of stop at all the different scenarios you could have.
Yeah, so back to where we are, what do we want changed from what's shown? I heard we wanted doors on those openings. Do we want doors on the openings, or do we
wouldn't
want
have
the
to.
openings to remain?
If you just leave it like that, then it's secure.
I
So
think the
ceiling
visual
to
makes
floor?
sense.
So back to the only thing that we're changing then from this is we're changing the name of the board chair and the consultant. We're flipping those two rooms so that the board chair space would be out to the hallway and it would be a file storage room is going to be on the backside. That's the only change we're making, is a naming change. We're not making any drawing changes. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yeah,
Going
and-
back to the counter there, where are like the pass-throughs? How many are there?
Right now, they're showing just the one in the center right here.
Oh, right there?
Correct. If you wanna have one on each side, we could do that.
Well, that's what I was thinking. There could have been one on the, what I'd call the south side and one kind of more to the north.
You've got space there to do that.
But they've got to know that.
Yeah.
Well, there'll be more details coming up that will finalize them, but yes. So you would like an opening on both sides?
Yep.
Okay.
And with John changing offices, he's got enough room in that office to put a table in. So if
Right.
Paul needs another place to take somebody, he can just take them in there and use that,
Yep.
rather than
There we have
redesign it all
enough.
for.
That has enough for three going at one time.
Rich?
Yeah, I would agree
Which
with
only
that, unless
happens-
he's got confidential stuff sitting around in his office, that could create a problem.
Well, they've done it before.
But you got that
And you got that council, yeah, you got that other room that they can go into that one. So they've got options, I think, yeah, that will solve the issues that they might have.
And aren't there other consult rooms? I mean, we're talking about meetings that the health department may have, they're going down the hall and around the corner. I think we can just make use of meeting rooms we have.
Yeah, because we've got plenty of them, which is good, because some days you need it.
And there is monies for all this, correct?
It depends, but I was just gonna ask her, what does he think it's gonna come, what is your forecast of the bid?
Well, let's talk about that. Okay, can we first of all pin down, are we good with those changes, and then we'll get into the cost and the contract?
I would make a motion that we accept this
Okay.
plan
I second.
as printed.
Okay, motion by Dick, seconded by Renee, to accept the latest plan
Except with the changes, of course.
with
minor
the changes that have been suggested.
Office designations, space designations.
Any other discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carried.
Okay, so
There.
the second thing that I need to speak to you about is, Becky had reached out to me a week or so ago just to talk about the funding of the project and the budget. Based on what we just talked about, we are forecasting this is gonna be about $3.9 million as it sits right now, okay? Now, that is construction costs. That does not include your furniture. So as we've identified before, you're gonna have to figure out what your furniture solution is. And then that 3.9 is carrying a $200,000 contingency. I'd like to see the contingency bigger. So that's why we're gonna have some alternates in there for some ceilings and some finishes so that we can work to that number. But targeting that 3.9, as we have been all along, that's a construction cost for the project as we sit with a $200,000 contingency in the 3.9. Furniture outside of that. Now, because we've been making so many changes, this has drug on longer than we anticipated. We were intending to have this bid out by the end of the year, which has challenged us with the use of some of the funding for the project. You guys are talking about or considering using ARPA funds for this project. There is a requirement for use of ARPA funds that you have that scope of work identified and under contract by the end of 2024, which would be the last day of December 2024. Now, you have until the last day of December 2026 to spend the money, but you have to have it allocated by the end of December of 2024. You have already assigned the contract to Venture for the design. The construction management piece, we have not finalized because we've rebid it multiple times and we've changed it. So I have submitted an amendment to Becky. I think Susan has had a chance to review it. Essentially, what the amendment is saying is we're going to continue our services as your construction manager in the same, under the same terms as the original agreement. So we have not changed rates. We have not changed the fees. All of those have remained the same. The only thing that we have added is that we're taking this document here as an exhibit, and we're saying this is an exhibit with a county budget of $3.9 million. The amendment states that the project is currently into the design phase. We will be bidding it out after the first of the year. Construction will start in February, and we're anticipating a 12-month turnaround. So you will be within the window of your 2026 timeframe. So it's my understanding, and Susan can correct me, is that that amendment has to come before Exec and Finance this month. But I wanted to let you know, do they have to take action on that today?
Yeah, Becky, have you?
Can I step in here? Is it okay if I speak?
Yeah,
I don't want
absolutely. Go
to
ahead.
jump in.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I don't want to step in if Susan was going to say something. Susan and I have talked about this, and Susan did give me a recommendation on saying it really needs, she spent her time looking through the federal requirements and really said, this should be put out for RFP and solidified because of the requirements. And I wanted to get WCA to weigh in on that because I was hoping that there was a different way that we could do this rather than try to squeeze this in here by the end of the year and figure this out. And I just was able to finally connect with, I had sent everything to Andy Phillips last week, and we connected this morning. and he does recommend the same. Originally, I would say that this has not been stressed, that that things have to be under contract. I was not aware. I thought we had to, everything that I've heard too is that you had to identify, like you have done through a resolution, and have that funding identified by the end of 2024, how it was going to be used. As a part of my work with the National Counties Association, I've received information recently from them, and they were very specific in saying, by the end of 2024, it has to be under contract. That's what led me to ask Susan and talk with Susan. And then she investigated, and it just has not been communicated very well. Like I said, Andy Phillips had to do a fair amount of work on his end also to come back and say, yeah, that's accurate. I think the piece is that it feels, comments have been made at different various levels and saying, there's no one really out there that's monitoring and checking this necessarily. It could be fine, but I think the sentiment from myself, Susan, WCA, is that now we're moving into a time of a new administration at the federal level, and we do not know what, if they can claw back funds. There might be the possibility that they may look at that closer. So I really do think that we have to go through this RFP process, which again makes it a little bit more, it's going to be more work on our part, of course, but we can, Susan had mentioned, and I can let Susan step in and say, talk about how we might be able to get that done here by the end of the year, but also, excuse me, Andy Phillips had also suggested that we could set up an escrow account, excuse me, at a bank if we wanted a little bit more time. I'd like to get this done by the end of the year, if at all possible, but if we need to, he's suggesting we could work with the bank, get them to make an arrangement with them to, put an agreement together that says that they're obligated, it's obligated to care for the funds, and that the funds would only be released back to the county when we can fulfill a construction agreement. And so he's just saying that could buy us some time, but does feel like it would probably be best to have the RFP go out. So I'll let Susan step in now.
So this was something that was researched last week or the week prior, really the last several weeks. It is something, it's also under state law. This is a public work, and so we have to follow provisions of Chapter 66 as well, make sure that we're doing an open and competitive bidding process. And so we have the federal requirements, but we also have Wisconsin's requirements that we need to comply with. What I had recommended is having a very condensed window for our RFP. Thankfully, other things have happened earlier this year that we have a template that can be followed and utilized, and just have a very short window of having it open. I don't want to go into it too much further because this is open session, but that was essentially what I had recommended. Any questions about any of that?
The RFP, what does that entail really in this situation? Where is it coming from?
It would come through administration.
Okay.
Yep. And it'd still have to be bid out. We just have to follow a calendar or a schedule, just like any other RFP. It would just be very, very condensed.
So my plan would be is that I would be working on that, and get that completed here in the next day or two. And so Susan can review it, and then we'd put it out right away. And hopefully, yes. And so that's all I'll say on that as well, I guess. But that's just kind of the plan from there.
So the goal would be to have a return from the bidders before the end of the year, and
Yes.
assign
Yes.
the,
It's going to be
Okay.
pretty condensed.
what do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know the details of what you plan on, how you plan on bidding it.
Yeah, but what do you think in terms of time?
This would not be an RFP out to a builder
Oh,
or
okay.
construction. Okay, so this would be an RFP going out for a management company to take on the project and like a Samuels Group that would be in charge of those funds.
Okay, so we're not
No, we're not trying to get a bid for the
Not getting the
project at
bids,
this
okay,
point.
Okay,
Right.
And in the meantime, there would be plans to put the ARPA money into escrow or an account so that it is allocated before the end of the year?
I'm hoping we don't have to do that. I'm hoping that we can get this out and completed by the end of the year. But then we have to, like Susan had mentioned, we'll do a quick turnaround. And we'd have to have, Susan, is that then the property committee has to approve it
Yes.
when it comes back, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then that's, the point would be that we need to, before the end of the year, call a meeting of this, of the property committee.
Well, if we need a meeting, we have the county board meetings next Monday. So we could do it before the meeting.
Right,
We
and I
already
don't
got-
think
we got
exec
exec fi-
finance is going to take that full 45 minutes.
No, right, I don't think they are.
No.
So that we could actually say that we could have one at 6:30 or 6:45.
We could.
Just to meet and agree, so we can get this cleared up.
Okay. At the same time, we can move move the plans forward to the state. Is that okay?
That's, Kurt would be the expert on that. How do we?
Kurt, does that sound okay?
I guess I don't know what you're looking to propose, so I can't give you an answer. I mean, I think the part what is being missed and what's being misunderstood about this is that a construction management, the services that we are providing are professional services. This is not bricks and mortar. I am proposing that this project is competitively bid the exact same way that I did with this project. So I think it's a misunderstanding of the services that are provided and the latitude that you have to be able to assign those services. This is a continuation of services, which is under the contract. I don't know what you're going to package in regards to the RFP that's going to comply with, because it still has to be competitively bid. You don't have a document that's going to be bid by the end of the year. You're talking about professional service. So I would, to answer all of your questions, I don't know what the RFP looks like to even speak to it or what you're proposing for. So I don't know how to answer the question, so.
So I think you're saying the money has to go towards bricks and mortar, not towards your contract? Is that part of what you're saying?
So the service that we provide is a professional service, and that's why I
Yeah.
said our fee and our services maintain the same. Everything that we've been doing on this project for you guys for the last year is part of those pre-construction services under that realm of working in your best interest. We're going to take this document out for public bid in January when we get it back from Venture. You will have hard numbers. That complies with the ARPA requirements. The professional service as a construction manager is just like your architect. You do not have to have an RFP process for those services. It is a professional service. Now, if I was coming in and telling you that I was the bidder and I'm the builder, absolutely that has to comply with what's being bid.
So Kurt, did you have an opportunity to speak with Becky last week?
Yes.
Was this discussed?
We didn't talk about this, though. We did not have we did not talk about this yet, Susan.
Okay, because I think that would be more appropriate for the three of us to have a discussion.
Yep.
Yes, I agree.
Do you think this is not needed then, with the proposer? What's your opinion?
I personally do not think that an RFP for construction management service is needed. There's a clause in our agreement that says that we can have an additional services that is under a professional service agreement. In our agreement, we say everything is going to be competitively bid. That's my opinion.
So Kurt, I'm going to continue the same questions that I've asked previously, and I know that we haven't talked. We've been kind of going the telephone game. I need a copy of the signed contract that contains that clause. So I need it. So please forward that on so we can continue the conversation forward.
Well, and that's one question I had is, I don't know what's in the contract because we never saw it. That was signed before we got here. Can we have to do everything with you guys, right? Is that way the contract is worded, or what was in there? Because that was drawn up before most
Our
of us were here.
contract as a construction manager was for the Justice Center.
And not for the rent, okay.
Right.
Correct. The clause that I'm referring to is if there is an additional services to our agreement, you guys can add whatever you want to our services under that agreement. You have a contract that's signed with us as your construction manager. So the amendment would be, we're going to do this renovation, which the renovation is nothing new. We've talked about that. But because the project was overbid, the contract was identified for the Justice Center, and we have been performing under the premise of this project moving forward. You've all been a part of it for how long? So that's why I'm surprised by the conversation today.
Well,
And
can I
I,
ju-
Kurt, yeah, if.
Go ahead, go ahead.
If I may. I was under the belief that there would be a conversation last week. I do think that conversation is needed. I think it will round out some of the questions that you have.
Well, I guess all I was going to say is that the three of you are going to meet, do so prior to us scheduling another meeting, and hopefully that all of the concerns that have been voiced will be covered. I guess the major concern is making sure that we have that ARPA money available for this project, so that what you can do to permit us to move ahead accordingly.
We will. We will be looking at all of that.
Yeah, well, this, Kurt, this is all news to all of us too, because we've never heard any of this before. Rebecca never said. And so it's just as much a surprise to us as it is to you. So it wasn't like we tried to sabotage you or anything.
No, and it was, again, a last minute conversation this morning that I could finally coordinate with Andy Phillips. I was hoping to have some other type of route to bring this forward. So it was, I was hoping that we were going to have different news, so.
All right. Well, that kind of throws a chink in the whole thing. Well, I think we'll just get,
I will carry this information on to Venture and keep it moving, and we'll work through the details, so.
well, I've got a little question for you too. Is that 3.9 million, that's 200,000 of, yeah, and then does that include your fees for being and that's what it would cost for your administration of the whole project, correct? Okay, just wanted to get
Can
that
I-
clear too right away.
Can I ask a question of the committee? He's indicating there's no coverage in this number for furniture, and this has been discussed on and off and so forth and so on. Can we not just move ahead and set aside that issue to tomorrow, so to speak? The furnishings, the furniture, because that is important, but it's immaterial in terms of this part going ahead.
Correct.
So I think we need to keep moving on this and not let their furnishings stand in our way at this point. We may, you're suggesting that there may be some way to find more money for the contingency by changing some of the materials used in the project. But even, we still are going to have this furniture issue. But I think we need to move ahead.
Oh, most definitely.
And without, that's another matter that has to be taken care of, obviously, but,
Well, yeah, I agree with that, Dick. But I have a question for Susan again and Rebecca. What you were initially asking was this committee to authorize to go ahead, correct, for putting out bids according to, did I miss something?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and
Still
so,
moving forward with that.
right, but that might not be necessary. So you folks will be talking to Kurt, I understand. But,
No, we'd still have to have it put out for bids for construction.
The construction. Keep the
yeah, the construction part,
professional
Right.
services, the construction.
but not as far as whom is our manager. Correct?
I don't think
Yeah.
that, I don't understand why the
Well,
I don't understand why
Sorry.
the management is even, the manager of this is even part of this discussion. I think what we're talking about is, what do we do to lock in the ARPA funds? What do we need to do to lock them in? That's the
Right.
key thing.
And Susan and Kurt and I will discuss that after, and
Yes.
I'll communicate that with, yeah, and I'll communicate that with you all. I apologize. I should have given, Mayor a call just to keep him informed ahead of time too, just what was happening.
I think email out to the whole committee would have been nice, just to, so we know what's going on here, and everybody's kind of like deer in the headlights, like saying, well, what happened here?
And if if there is an RFP, it's going to have to be voted on, and that schedule's going to have to be voted on, so it's a lot of work in a really short amount of time.
Yeah, so good luck.
Yep. It's a lot.
And who knows, maybe the project come in under bid, and then you can use that extra money for the furniture.
That's the issue, is that there's an amendment that has not been signed, is what I've understood, that would allow for those additional services, but it's an unsigned amendment.
So if time is of the essence, you folks could get together if we need another meeting this week to move forward that way.
That would be great. That would be great to have
We
that
could
I
option.
suggest that.
I agree with you. We got to expedite this, so we don't want to.
Yeah, because if it's a
Lose
big
those
deal,
funds.
we don't have to do nothing.
Yep. But, yeah, there are a couple of ins and outs and things there that are different than what we can present right now.
Rebecca, when do you think you have your stuff together for this? I mean,
I'm hoping after this meeting that Susan and Kurt and I could talk briefly. I am supposed to be off today, but we'll be back in on tomorrow. But, again, hoping to have that pulled together pretty quick.
Is this something that has to come before the board on
Not
Monday?
not the
Okay.
RFP,
Okay, that's good.
yep.
How about exec finance? Do they have?
Not unless there is some sort of funding source that's coming out of one of the funds that is accepted out for executive finance. So, for example, general funds would be one that our ordinance allows.
what day works for you guys?
Friday. I'm just thinking.
Friday for Doc.
Friday's fine with me.
Friday's good with me. I'll give you a couple days to put it together.
Any day is okay with me, but Friday's the only good day for you?
Dick?
Yeah, for,
I
for,
can't make it Friday.
anytime after 10:30 on Friday would be good for me.
Rich can't make it on Friday.
And he can't make it any other day except Friday.
What was the timing on Friday?
I would like to be, I'm hoping to make it 10:30 or later on Friday for,
Doc, did you say that Friday was the only day that you could do it?
Otherwise, it'd be afternoons on the other days, like
Well, that would be
That's fine with me.
the afternoon would be fine.
Works for me. Any,
afternoon.
Rich,
after 2
Thursday
o'clock,
afternoon?
around 2 o'clock. Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah, the afternoon.
2 o'clock?
Yeah, you get up by noon.
Can we do 1 o'clock?
I'm not available. If you guys want to do it
1
without me,
o'clock,
that's
Doc? Can you
fine.
make that?
I'm not, I have
think we
court,
need you.
so
Yeah, 1 o'clock works.
I have court at 1 o'clock on Thursday. So,
Wednesday?
What do you have later, do you have, are you tied up all afternoon?
at 2
that day?
o'clock, I think I'll be done
Oh,
2
On
o'clock?
Wednesday?
on Thursday.
We can do Wednesday too, have like 1 or 2.
And I have a 1 o'clock,
Rich, can you make
so
Thursday
Thursday at 2 o'clock
at
is
2
fine.
o'clock?
Thursday at 2 o'clock will work for me.
There-
That is okay.
that's okay, Doc?
That's perfect for me.
How about everybody?
or do you want to go a
Okay.
little later to be safe?
I think 2 will be fine.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
wait for you.
We'll figure on that for meetings, so we can get this straightened out and keep going.
Becky, are you in your office?
Not in my, I'm working remote, but go ahead.
I'm just thinking that there should be a conversation with Kurt as well between you and I. So maybe if Kurt has a moment afterwards, we can
Yes,
start that
I was
conversation.
wondering if we could just stay on virtual like this and talk afterwards, if that works.
Can I call you separately? Sorry to bother everybody else, but can I call you separately? I have a meeting at 10.
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, okay. Anybody else have anything, any questions? You got, figure, what was that, Thursday, we said 2 o'clock?
Thursday, 2 o'clock.
That sounds good. Everybody can make it. Hopefully you can get this, keep this thing chugging along, get this. Okay. Thank you, Kurt. Sorry about that. Okay, I'd like to close the open block of time for the call-ins right now. We've gone past our 15-minute block and move on to number 7, Tim Robertson.
Morning. This will be brief. Mostly, the biggest thing that's happened recently, the staff migrated the public safety software system from the physical environment it's been on since 2016 over to our new virtualized setup. So we have a redundant public safety setup now. Renee in particular put in a huge number of hours to get that done, and so I'm very appreciative of how much effort was put into that and the fact that it went off without much of a hitch. We are currently going to be replacing our antivirus software with a new solution, a managed detection and response solution. Hoping to get that in place early in January, and just trying to survive during the next couple of weeks because Daryl's got to take some time off. Otherwise he doesn't. You have to force him to, you know. So we'll be a little shorthanded, but we should be able to get through the end of the year. And don't even ask me about my budget. So where we're at there, that's not going well. Any questions? Short and sweet. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. You didn't hear nothing from AT&T on the switch over?
I'd tell you.
I figured. We talked about it earlier, so. All right, next up is Jeremy. He's not here today. I guess, he said he couldn't be here, so we'll move down to purchasing policy. I think.
That was
Huh?
part of Jeremy's school.
Yeah, so I think we'll put the flip chart and the purchasing and everything on next month's agenda. And we've got a meeting for, the next meeting will be the second Monday, January 13th at 8:30. Well, that's gonna be, but Thursday at 2 o'clock's the next meeting, but the next regular monthly meeting will be on the 13th of January. So is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
You can always zoom in, Rich. You can always zoom in too, so if you want. All right. We've achieved everything on the agenda, so I'd like to call this meeting adjourned. Meeting adjourned.